Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so very kind fellow got in touch with me, Gen CSS user, and commented that the light dark theme isn't working, that it's not activated. So obviously I ran to go and test it, and it is working perfectly well. But of course, this is something that I should make sure is demoed so that we can see how it's working and ensure that we're all on the same page. So in this video, I'm going to fire up Feud Studio, get Gen CSS involved, and we're going to make something light dark and see how that works in both the browser, but also how we can custom activate the light dark mode or data theme. So without further ado, let's get spectacular. Got coffee, glasses, and I'm sure I've got Skittles somewhere. Yes. Naughty but nice. This was a bad idea. It's rude to talk. Oh, you won't believe what I did. I had my Skittles. I intended to do a little jump cut thing, and somehow I've turned off my recording and then done the whole tutorial. So I'm going to do it again. And yeah, fun times. So I've just reversed everything a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely great. Right, let's crack on with this. So I've got a page a little bit set up now, which is fine enough. So let's we need to create a new globals CSS. So new globals.css, and yeah, that's goody good. And then let's connect that one up. Okay, so boom, done. Let's open up Gen CSS as well, and I'm going to connect to the new file of our color project. Cool. And yeah, obviously, yeah, we've got the file, push it to file, pop back to Feud and reload, and great, everything's come on up. So I put in a hero section insert, so it was automatic, and then I put in a card, and I've multiplied that card by 3. So all of that is in your inserts for you to use. Very easy to do. What I do need to do is whack in a bit of a grid. So let's go column 3. And let's put a content gap or a gap grid on there. Cool. Okay. So we've got a few bits to play with for a nice quick lesson on this one. So the question really was like, oh, I found a bug in Gen CSS and it doesn't seem that color schemes are working. And like, yeah, absolutely fair enough. Let's have a look at how it is actually meant to work, and we'll look a bit at how to implement it with Gen CSS, because it does work. But yeah, we've got to make sure we know about the workflow. So I've got this extra section down here before we move on to having a look at cards. My assumption is that the cards, the cards, you had a little go at the cards, and then the auto color scheme changing didn't seem to work. So let's have a look at this new section here, and we've got a heading. Well, it's not actually a heading. Let's just put a heading on that one, and some text. Okay, so we're going to play with these elements. Right, to Gen CSS, all right? Let's have a look at, we've got color assignments, and then we've got color scheme, okay? And we've got light and dark. And so there is actually a bit of a note here on dark about how to implement dark theme, because the light is the default. And so if we actually look at the code here, data theme, theme, there we go. This is the actual code that we have available to us. So at the root, which means this is the default one. I just got paranoid and just double checked I was recording there. We've got color scheme, light, dark, and then we've got these, all of these sort of like defaults set out. All right. So the default setting is background is BG white. Surface is BG light, surface raised BG light. Okay, so pretty much what we see here, and that is set as our default. Then we have at media prefers color scheme dark, so i.e. not the default. Generally everything is set to light. You've got to choose which one you're going to do as a default. We've got root values here for the dark, which is background to BG dark, surface BG dark. And we can see these here. All right, so it's that's what we're saying would happen if someone's browser is set to a dark mode, and that's really, in my opinion, that's the only reason to set dark mode and things like that, is for accessibility, to match what somebody has in their browser. Because if you're caring at all about accessibility, to be honest, everything you design should have a light dark flit that isn't changed by a toggle, or maybe someone could do that so that they can choose themselves, but is actually chosen by their browser preset to their needs and to what to how they need to view any website. And so that would be this here. That's what we're defining here. And then we have data theme light. So if somebody wants the light theme, or if you want to style for a light theme, it's a data theme, and then data theme dark. And so this is setting those tokens to values, which is what we see here. So I can go to background, which is BG white, and I can set it to BG darker, and you see that changes out, and we get the preview in Gen as well, which is nice. So what was it? BG white, right? Okay, so that's how the code is actually set out, and what we've got to realize there is that it's when the colors, or the background color, or whatever, is set to these tokens that it will then pull this value dependent on the data theme that is explicitly given to it, or to whatever the browser is saying should be the case, or by default it's this. So with that in mind, let's take a quick look at the cards, because when we look at things like the background, we see that it's not set to the token. So these cards aren't set initially for light dark changing. All right, so out of the box, we do have color scheme in Gen CSS, and we do have a card framework, but they're not tied together. But I'll show you how to do that if you want to do that. So yeah, that's the thing we've got to remember with data theme light dark. It's about the tokens that we're pointing everything to, and text is explicit here as text, which is a default one, and BG white is the background is the same there. Okay, so let's experiment with some of these tokens in Feud on this section here that we've got. So we've got new section, and I would like to put a bit of height on it so that we can see it, and we'll just do 500 pixels. And background, I'm going to set to background, okay, which is defined by our browser, or by the data theme. All right, so that's set to background, not to a color and not to a tokenized color assignment. Then if we go to the inner section, let's bung a height on here as well, and then we'll do background. Oh gosh, background equals var surface, okay, which was another one of our color, our color scheme tokens. All right, so and you can see that that's happening there. We've got a sort of like the gray coming through, which you can see in Gen CSS as a preview there. Color scheme, whoosh. You see we've got surface coming through there, and then we've got text here. Let's go back and put some text on here. Color, and then again we're going to use one of our color scheme, and it's not light, it's not dark, this token is just, it's color, because it shouldn't have any specificity. It literally is just the color. It's not decided. Okay, cool. So we've done that. Now let's actually look at applying a change to this and seeing if it works, because apparently there was a bug and that it's not working, and so if we pop to Gen CSS, you'll see that there's a little note here, data theme equals dark, so add that to any element. So let's go to the section here, the top section, class new, and we'll add in data theme dark, and boom, that's happened. Not different. Why is that? Background and surface. Why? Oh, well, they're set to the same. Yeah, that'll look better. All right, well, don't do that. And reload the changes, and there we go. That's cool. Right, I just want to put a bit of space in between those. So gap content, but it needs flex. Cool. Cool. Okay, so we can see that that's working. It's applying the dark, and then also it's applying the light. There we go. All right, so it's bringing in those tokenized colors. So it is working in Gen CSS. But let's test the browser, and this is something that hopefully will make you think, oh God, all right, I don't know what I should be doing there, because if we pop here to if you open a new tab on Google, let me move my face out of the way, and pop along to Customize Chrome. All right, you get this screen, which is pretty cool. And if you pop along to, go to Feud, grab your URL, and put it into the browser, and you're going to be able to test the light and dark. So if somebody's got their browser set to light, because that's their preference, we're on light now. If they've got their browser set to dark, and remember, this is for visibility, this is for vision, nothing happens. All right, and the reason for that is because we've got this data theme explicitly set here, and we don't want that. So if I remove that, okay, so there's nothing telling it what to do, and I come on back. I need to refresh. You see that now it's choosing the values on the end of those tokens dependent on my browser preference. Now, generally, I have mine set to dark, but it's not because I have any visibility issues. Well, apart from normal, but I don't suffer with contrast and things so much like that. But someone else, if you've put something explicitly there to like put a light or a dark scheme in there, that doesn't work for people. And so what we really, in my opinion, and the way that I sit with this, and actually, I need to look at, to see if you can guarantee that a browser is going to override it, and that's something I'll have a look at. But in my view anyway, design a site for light or dark theme, and only make it so that it's changed by the browser by preference. Don't force it. If you want to have a light or a dark scheme, then code it that way. And if possible, actually tokenize it to that, instead of sort of doing a color scheme and then hard coding in the data theme, the light and the dark. That is debilitating for people, and that's not really where we're meant to go. So light dark scheme, in my opinion, and color scheme, I put it in there as an accessibility, a nod to accessibility more than anything. But that's why and how it should be used. But in that sense, it is a case of designing with use of the tokens, and setting them to the tokens within the color scheme. Okay, so out of the box, Gen CSS does have some color scheme light dark tokens here. Just here now, I'm thinking, okay, it could do with some more, but the thing is that you can actually add them yourself. So if we pop to color assignments, for example, and I would like to add another. What should we do? Okay, I'll nab these, and we'll go to utilities. All right, because we can't add those in the. Oh. Okay, and I just want to remove. I'm just being lazy with copying and pasting, really. I could have done it once. In fact, I will. Okay, and change this one to dark. Okay, let's add another token that makes sense to us. We're going to add heading color. Heading color, and if it's light, we would like oh, what have I done? There we are. If it's light, we would like it to be green. And if it's dark, we would like it to be blue. Okay. All right. So, nothing too sexy there. Now let's pop back to Feud and we'll reload that. And on this heading, we're going to put color heading color. Okay. Now on that bombshell, my little puppy has just given a bark, which means she needs to go to the loo. So I'll be back. She's a good girl, really. Okay. Var heading color, but we don't have anything set right now. So back to the section. Data theme equals light, and it's green. And if we go to dark, and it's blue. Okay, so yeah, that all works. You can add tokens if you feel that what's in GenCSS out of the box. You can add tokens. You can also add the default, but that would need to go in like the tokens up here. So color assignments. Okay, so we've just added it into the user assignments. Okay, so push that. And now if we go to Feud and reload, and we remove this altogether, it's pink, all right, because that's now the default. So you're not limited in GenCSS by what is in GenCSS. There's been a lot of effort to make sure that there are different appropriate places to add extras. And yeah, so you can broaden out from that. Just to quickly add that if you want to tie in the cards here, if you want to tie the cards in, then you simply need to pop along to the cards and you tokenize them to the color scheme. So if I go background and color and push that to file and obviously reload in Feud, we'll have to have a peek on the actual page. Obviously we need to do something with the headings, but you see that does tie in there. Cool. Disco. I use the word too much. So yeah, that's color scheme and light, dark and everything like that in GenCSS, but also in how to do it when you're coding up and stuff. I'm really of the mind that it's an accessibility feature. You hard code, if you're hard coding stuff, then you're overriding people's empowerment to use your site, and I don't think that's a good idea. So yeah, I think use it as accessibility, use that tokenized approach and expand on what is there in GenCSS, but definitely be mindful of how we implement it. If you have a light section in your site and then a dark section, and you're wanting it so that someone can toggle something and it switches it around, that's all snazzy, but it overrides browser defaults and presets for people. Yeah, so I don't know. I suppose it's more accessible that you'd have something set to light, and then if you have a dark section, you would have that tokenized so that if somebody wants their browser particularly light or inverted for the dark, then it only adjusts the light sections to be dark when someone needs it, or the dark sections to be light when someone needs it, or whatever the hell I just said correctly. So I think that's what we need to be using color schemes for anyway. I just did an embarrassing hair flick there, which is another sign that my hair is getting far too long. Fund my haircut. Buy Feud Studio with GenCSS, and now available on WordPress. Right, cool. Hope that was interesting, and hope you guys all have a great day. Ta-da!